Hi everyone, Alexa here with the Duval Homestead, and today I want to share with you how to make homemade bone broth. Bone broth is one of the best natural healers used by our ancestors for many, many years, back when you would get an entire cow or chicken and you didn't want any of that to go to waste. Bone broth contains so many minerals and nutrients like collagen and gelatin. Bone broth can be used to help the flu virus and help with the healing of many health issues with its high amounts of cartilage and collagen, which is used in the treatment of cancer and other health issues like arthritis. It's also incredible for digestion. The minerals from the bone marrow serve as an electrolyte that makes other protein and carbohydrates in your meal easier to digest. So there are so many benefits. Many people are not aware of all of these benefits, and I would actually add that store-bought bone broth is not nearly as good as homemade. Sometimes commercially produced gelatin can include an acid that is like MSG, and oftentimes food on the shelf can contain preservatives, and that's how it's able to get to us and last so long. Homemade bone broth lasts in the fridge for about 5 days, and then it can last in the freezer for several months. So for traditional bone broth, you can use anything like chicken, beef, fish, deer, anything that you have on hand and that you like. We make chicken bone broth most often because we also make roasted chicken. So what we do is we roast the chicken for dinner one night, we have that for dinner, and then we save the bones and make bone broth the next day. To make bone broth, you just need bones, filtered water, and apple cider vinegar. The vinegar is a really important part of this. It helps bring the nutrients out of the bones during the boiling process. I like to do this with an Instant Pot. You can also do this with a large stainless steel pot on the stove. Pour the water in, bring it to a boil, and let it simmer for anywhere from 6 to 24 hours. I will leave the recipe I'm using today, as well as a stovetop recipe, on my blog at theduvalhomestead.com. I'll also include a printable recipe card if you like to print it out and have a little collection of recipes on your counter. I like the Instant Pot. I also use the Instant Pot for pressure cooking, making rice, and a whole bunch of other soups. You can find a lot of other Instant Pot recipes on my blog. I like the Instant Pot because I can turn it on and then leave the house. When the soup is done, it will just stay on warm, so it's very safe. I wouldn't really feel comfortable leaving the stove on for that long if I'm not home. So you want to take your bones. Here I'm using chicken bones from a roasted chicken we made a few nights ago. It's okay if some meat is still left because we'll strain this when it's done anyway. Then fill the Instant Pot up with water just enough to cover the bones, no more. This allows the bone broth to get that nice jelly consistency on top. Then add about 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. Now you can just stop right here. So all you need are bones, water, and apple cider vinegar to make proper bone broth. But I really like to drink bone broth. However, I don't like to drink this bone broth. So I'm gonna share with you my ingredients to make this a drinkable, fantastic bone broth that you can have as part of a meal or a snack. And you can really change this up. So you can add whatever ingredients you think you would like while you're tasting and drinking this broth. I just don't personally like the broth on its own without adding all of these ingredients. But you can use this broth in soups, chili, so many things. Anything that requires some broth, like a beef roast, a chicken roast. I just don't like drinking it on its own. Also, you should know that there is no salt so far. We haven't added any salt. So if you're gonna put this in a soup, you will wanna add some salt. Now, my favorite thing to do, which I wanna share with you today, is add a few secret ingredients to make this bone broth really tasty. I love drinking bone broth with meals, for a meal, after a meal, as a snack. I try to drink it at least once a day, and I just notice that my hair, skin, and nails just feel so much healthier, and it's really delicious. Also, if you have the flu, or you're not feeling well, or you're trying to prevent yourself from getting sick, bone broth is a great thing to drink. If you didn't know, if you're sick, sometimes the reason that you're not wanting to eat any food is because your body is working so hard to fight whatever's going on inside of the body that it doesn't want any food because it will take energy to digest something heavy. So drinking something like this bone broth is a really great way to stay hydrated and add nutrients to your body without taking away energy during times of having the flu or something like that. So So without further ado, here are my secret ingredients to making the best drinkable bone broth that you can have anytime. First, leftover veggie pieces. I saved the celery root and carrot heads from when I made roasted chicken a few nights ago. Half an onion. I'm just going to cut this in half and just throw the whole thing in for flavor. Mushrooms. These are really key to making a tasty bone broth. They add a really rich flavor. You'll also want to add about a tablespoon of salt and more to taste if you need it. And of course, the apple cider vinegar. And then there's one more secret ingredient, and this one is truly secret because I have not seen this. Dried cranberries. Cranberries add a richness and a sweetness to the broth, much like one you would taste during Thanksgiving time, and it is so good. So I'm gonna add some cranberries. Okay, so all of my veggies are in. So I just filled the Instant Pot up with water, and I'm gonna press the soup mode, which goes for 2 hours. You wanna make sure your lid is on sealing, not venting. After the 2 hours are over, the Instant Pot will just go to warm mode, so you can actually do this overnight, etc. It's not going to stop as long as you have the keep warm button on. And you're going to want to do this at least 3 times through, so for a total of at least 6 hours. And you can even do more if you have the time. What we usually end up doing is we turn it on and then half goes on overnight and then maybe into the next day. So total at least 24 hours usually for us. But if we're in a rush, 6 will be fine. Just make sure you don't go past, I think it's 12 hours on the Instant Pot, to which point it will just turn off. Don't quote me on that though, I think it's 12 hours. So there you have it. That's how you make homemade bone broth, the simple way and the drinkable way. The simple way is really good if you don't have a lot of time and you just want to quickly get bone broth made and stored. And the drinkable way is my favorite so that you can actually drink it as its own meal or if you're sick. When you're done, your bone broth will look something like this. Now this one actually is a plain bone broth, not a drinkable one. Of course, you can still drink it, but I know it's not my favorite because it's so light in color. This version will be a lot darker because of the cranberry and the mushrooms. So after you have let this sit for 6 hours or more, you're gonna wanna turn the Instant Pot off, take the lid off, and let it cool for a second. After that, you want to strain all of the bones so you can pour it through a mesh strainer. I'll link the one that I'm using below, it works quite well. And then you can pour it into mason jars or however you wanna store it. This makes quite a bit of bone broth, so I like to freeze ours. Now if you're going to freeze it, make sure you don't put it in a glass mason jar. This will likely cause the mason jar to break in the freezer. It's happened to us, so trust me, get a freezable container for the bone broth. We have some that I got on Amazon and I'll link them below if you want to get them. But it really saves us because it allows us to store a lot of bone broth and then we just take one out each week that we want and let it thaw out. So you can see that nice gelatin starting to form at the top of the bone broth already, and it has not even been in the fridge yet. So I like to salt this and then add some herbs before serving, and I like to heat it up in the microwave. Well, thank you so much for watching this video and learning about bone broth. Make sure you check out theduvalhomestead.com for a lot more bone broth recipes. This is our secret ingredient to a healthy life. So I love posting about bone broth. So if you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments below. I'll also link all of the supplies I used in this video, including the Instant Pot, below, and some really helpful resources for bone broth education if you are interested in learning more about why this is such a healing and powerful thing that you can make. If you're new to my page, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Every week I get out a new video on farm-to-table recipes, homesteading, natural living, and other healthy antics from our homestead here in Duval. I hope you enjoy your homemade bone broth.